Please read us a story, old bear. We'll all gather round. Dear old bear, sit in your favorite chair. We'll sit all around, dear old bear.
The sun shone through the window and woke Little Bear. "What a lovely morning," he said to himself. "I'll do something different today." He jumped down from the bed, took off his pajamas, and looked for his trousers. He looked on the chair where he'd left them, and he looked on the floor under the chair. And then he looked through the chest of drawers in case they were there. But they weren't. They were nowhere. "But they must be somewhere," said Little Bear. "Trousers don't disappear. I'll go and ask Old Bear. He'll know where they are." Old Bear was already enjoying the sun in his deck chair. "I haven't seen your trousers, I'm afraid," he said. "But Camel was around here earlier. Perhaps she knows where they are." "Thank you, Old Bear," said Little Bear, and he set off to find Camel. "Oh dear," said Camel, when Little Bear found her a few minutes later. "I did find them. I thought they were a pair of hump warmers, and I tried them on to see if they fitted me. They did keep my humps quite warm, but the air came down the tops, so I decided these were better." She showed Little Bear 2 very smart bobble hats, 1 for each hump. "I gave the old hump warmers to Sailor. Jump on my back and let's see if we can find him." Little Bear scrambled up, and they set off in the direction of the bathroom. Sailor was busy sailing his boat in the wash basin when Dog came by. "Ahoy there, Sailor," called Dog. "Have you got anything up there that I could keep my bones in?" "Try these," came the reply. Sailor lowered his sail and dropped Little Bear's trousers over the side of the wash basin. "They're not much use to me." He was still happily playing about when Little Bear and Camel arrived. Little Bear quickly jumped off Camel's back and clambered up to see if Sailor had his trousers. "Oh, yes, I did use them as sails," he said, "but they look too much like trousers." "That's because they are trousers," said Little Bear crossly. "Where are they now?" "I gave them to Dog to keep his bones in," said Sailor. "Sorry, Little Bear." Not far away, Rabbit was returning a bone to Dog. "Oh dear," said Dog, "my bones keep falling through the ends of these." "Never mind," said Rabbit. "Could I have them to use as a skiing hat? They're just what I'm looking for." "Help yourself," said Dog. "They're not much use to me." By the time Little Bear had found Dog, he was happily burying his bones in flower pots. "You see," he explained, "my bones kept falling through the 2-bone bone holder." "2-bone bone holder?" cried Little Bear in dismay. "Oh, Dog, can't you recognize trousers when you see them?" "Oh dear," said Dog, "I do feel silly. I gave them to Rabbit. He said he needed a skiing hat, and your trousers look perfect. I am sorry." Rabbit was poised at the top of the stairs, ready to begin his descent. "Whee!" cried Rabbit as he shot down the banisters on his 2 lolly stick skis. But oh dear, Suddenly his new hat slipped over his eyes. Rabbit wobbled, and with a great crash, he found himself in a heap on the hall floor, looking up at a rather startled zebra. "Are you all right, Rabbit?" she asked. "You did give me a fright. I was just looking for something to put my bricks in." "Well, do use my hat," said Rabbit. "I think my skiing is better without it." Rabbit tied up the ends with string and helped Zebra fill the trousers with the bricks she needed for her house. Then he went back to his skiing without a hat. That's where Little Bear found him sometime later. "I did have your trousers," he explained, "but I gave them to Zebra. She's over there somewhere, building herself a house." "Oh, yes," said Zebra. "I used them to carry these bricks in. But when I had enough to build a house, I gave them to Duck to use as a flag for his sandcastle. I am sorry, Little Bear. I didn't know they belonged to you." Duck was in the sand tray, looking sadly at the castle he'd made. There was no trouser flag on the top now. "Zebra said you took my trousers for a flag." "I did use the flag that Zebra gave me," he sighed. "But Bramble Brown came and said it was just what he needed urgently in the kitchen. He gave me this paper flag to use instead." "Never mind," said Little Bear with a sigh, feeling quite glad that his trousers were not covered in sand. The kitchen was in a terrible muddle. There were bowls and spoons and eggs and flour, and in the middle of it all sat Bramble Brown. He had Little Bear's trousers, but, oh dear, he'd filled them with pink icing and was busy decorating a huge cake with them. "What is that?" gasped Little Bear. "It's a special occasion cake," said Bramble, "and you have to put icing on special occasion cakes." "Not that," said Little Bear, "those." "Why, I thought I could do 2 stripes at once with these special icing bags." "But they're not icing bags. They're my trousers," sniffed Little Bear, trying hard not to cry. "I thought I'd seen them before," said Bramble Brown. "Don't worry, Little Bear," said Old Bear, who always arrived at the right moment. "The icing will wash out and they'll look as good as new." "What's the special occasion cake for?" asked Little Bear, feeling a bit more cheerful at this news. "Well, I didn't really know," said Bramble. "I just felt like making one." Old Bear thought hard. "Perhaps it ought to be a Trousers Day cake," he suggested helpfully. So that's what Bramble Brown drew on the cake, using the icing from the left trouser leg, and then using the icing from the right trouser leg. Duck washed Little Bear's trousers and dried them next to the cooker. Then Bramble Brown sat down to cut the cake, with all the toys gathered around him. There was plenty for everyone, and they all agreed it was a delicious cake, and a very good way to celebrate the day that Little Bear had lost and found his trousers. And ever since Trousers Day, Little Bear has slept with his trousers under his pillow. "Nobody will find them there," he says.
chair, we'll all gather round. Dear old bear, sit in your favorite chair, we'll sit all around dear old bear.
One afternoon, Old Bear was standing on a chair in the playroom, sorting through a basket of bits and pieces. "I don't think we'll ever use these now," he said. "They've been in the basket for years. Shall we clear them out to make room for something else?" "Let's see whether there's anything useful in there," said Bramwell Brown. "I'll help you get the basket down." They were just about to lower down the basket when something strange ran into the room, shouting, "Help! Help! Help!" in a muffled sort of way. Old Bear and Bramwell turned round in surprise. The chair wobbled, and down went the basket, spilling half its contents over the strange creature. "What was that?" asked Old Bear. "I think it's an elephant dressed in Little Bear's trousers," said Bramwell. Together they rummaged through the heap on the floor and rescued the surprised visitor. Old Bear took hold of what seemed to be a sock and pulled very hard. Out popped the top half of Little Bear, looking very hot and bothered. "Oh, thank you." "Little Bear," said Bramwell, rather puzzled. "Why were you wearing a sock on your head?" "I was playing dressing up," said Little Bear, "but I got stuck and couldn't see where I was going." "Dressing up?" repeated Bramwell Brown thoughtfully. "What a good idea. Why don't we all dress up? There are plenty of bits and pieces here." Bramwell tipped out the rest of the basket. As the three toys began looking through, Jolly Tall and Duck arrived, pulling Rabbit and Zebra along in a wooden cart. "What are you doing with all those bits?" asked Jolly. "We are going to play dressing up," said Little Bear excitedly. "Can we play too?" asked Jolly. "Oh, yes," cried Little Bear. "Then we can have a fancy dress competition." "If we're going to have a competition, we'll need a judge," said Duck. "I'll be the judge," volunteered Old Bear. "I'm sure nothing here would fit me anyway." "What will we have for a prize?" asked Zebra. Old Bear thought for a moment. Then he rummaged about in the heap of odds and ends. "The prize will be a surprise." He filled a little bag with something, put it on the cart, and pulled it out of the room. Little Bear dived into the odds and ends. He found a lolly stick and a pair of trousers, even baggier than his own. "Here you are, Rabbit, some pirate trousers, and you can use this lolly stick as a sword." "Ha-ha, me hearties!" shouted Rabbit, swinging his sword and looking very fierce. "Very good, Rabbit," said Bramwell Brown. "I'll just find you something to tie round your head." Bramwell picked up a long, stripy scarf and wound it round and round. "There," he said, "you look just like a real pirate. Now, I wonder what I could be." Suddenly, he saw a long piece of sparkly material. "Oh, look at this," he said, pulling it out from the pile. "It would make a lovely cloak, and here's a sort of crown. I could be a king." "Oh, can I be a king too?" said Little Bear, looking longingly at the sparkly material. "I could make a crown." "Me too," said Jolly. "You can't all be kings," said Duck. "That would be silly. It isn't a best king competition." "Oh, all right," said Little Bear. "I'll be, No, wait a minute." And rolling up a piece of material, he dashed out of the playroom. While Little Bear was gone, the others looked through the rest of the bits and pieces. Bramwell pulled out a small red and white spotted umbrella. "There you are, Jolly," he said. "You could be a toadstool." "I think he's a bit tall for a toadstool," said Rabbit. "Well, what about, a flower?" His face framed with a frilly pink tutu. "Quite nice," said Rabbit, "but I think you'd be better as a tree, if we could find some leaves." "You could use this," said Duck, holding up some green paper. Bramwell volunteered to cut out some leaves for Jolly. When he'd finished, he hung them from his ears. "That's better," said Bramwell. When he stood very still, he did look quite like a tree. Then Bramwell set about making his king costume. Meanwhile, Rabbit had found a little bag with a drawstring. Inside, there were lots of pretty seashells. "Look, Zebra," he cried, "I know just what you can be." A seahorse?" suggested Zebra, staring at the shells. "Not quite," said Rabbit. "A unicorn. You could wear one of these long shells as your horn." "Oh, are unicorns stripy?" asked Zebra. "No, I think you should cover up your stripes," said Rabbit. At that moment, a ghostly voice came from behind the door. "Ooh," it went, and a figure in white appeared in the room. All the toys tried to hide behind each other as the little figure drifted along until it bumped into the sofa and finally landed in King Bramwell's lap. "I'm a ghost," said a little bear sort of voice from underneath the white sheet. "We can see that now," said Jolly. "It's a very good costume. You had us fooled for a minute." "He didn't fool me," muttered Duck. "Anyone could tell it was Little Bear dressed up." "That white material is just what I need for my costume," said Zebra. "Is there any left over?" "Plenty," said Little Bear. "I'll go and fetch some." Little Bear helped Zebra make a white cloak to hide her stripes. And Bramwell finished making himself a sparkly cloak for his king costume. "I can't seem to think of anything," said Duck. "Nothing fits." "Is there anything left in the basket?" asked Bramwell. Duck stuck his head in. "Nothing," he said. "There's just the basket, and I can't wear that." "But you are wearing it," laughed Bramwell. "You look just like a tortoise." "Do I?" said Duck. "Really?" "Yes," said Rabbit. "The upside-down basket makes a wonderful tortoise shell. It's just the right shape." "I haven't got the right number of legs, though," grumbled Duck. "Tortoises have 4, and I've only got 2. "Oh, I don't think Old Bear will notice," said Zebra. "After all, the tree has 4. All the toys helped each other put the finishing touches to their costumes. Then a king, a ghost, a tortoise, a unicorn, a pirate, and a very tall tree trooped out of the playroom to find Old Bear. They found Old Bear in the kitchen, where he'd been very busy. He had decorated the cart with ribbons and paper flowers and other odds and ends from his bag of bits. "It looks beautiful, Old Bear," said Bramwell Brown, "but what is it?" "It's called a float," said Old Bear. "The winner of the fancy dress competition stands on it, and all the others pull it along." "Ooh!" squeaked the ghost, flapping his arms up and down excitedly. "Hurry up and start the judging, please, Old Bear." Old Bear sat himself in his favourite chair, and the toys began to parade around in a circle. Bramwell Brown looked very important and king-like as he swung his cloak around him. But just as they were going round for the second time, Bramwell's crown suddenly slipped down over his eyes. His foot caught in his cloak, and he sat down bump in a very unking-like way. Rabbit, who was bounding along behind Bramwell, had to take an extra leap to avoid him, and landed halfway up the jolly tall tree. The tortoise and the unicorn bumped into Bramwell, but the ghost, who couldn't see very well in his costume, carried on running about, making ooh noises. Old Bear began to clap. "Well done, everyone," he said. "I didn't know you were going to do a show as well." "It was a bit of a surprise for us, too," muttered the tortoise. "Who won, Old Bear?" asked Rabbit, as he scrambled down the neck of the tree. "You all have," said Old Bear. "I couldn't possibly choose between you." It was a bit of a squeeze, but there was just enough room on the float for everyone. Old Bear had made each of them a beautiful red rosette with the leftover ribbon. "Who would have thought," said Old Bear, as the little troop set off to the playroom, "that so many wonderful costumes could have come out of a basket of bits?"
story old bear, we'll all gather round. Dear old bear, sit in your favorite chair. We'll sit all around dear old bear.
One cold morning, Old Bear was sitting in his chair, looking out of the window. Spring had not quite arrived. There were no leaves on the trees or eggs in the nests, and all the other toys were sitting around in the playroom, wondering what to do. "Let's go for a picnic," said Old Bear suddenly. "A picnic?" said Duck. "But it's so cold." "Then we'll take some warm food and jumpers and blankets," said Old Bear. "It's a perfect day for a picnic." "Why is it perfect?" asked Bramwell Brown, looking at the trees blowing in the wind outside. "Because nobody else will be having a picnic," said Old Bear. "So we'll be able to choose the best picnic place and have it all to ourselves. And nobody else will be using the picnic basket," said Little Bear. "Or the blanket," added Rabbit. "That's right," said Old Bear, getting to his feet. "Come on, everyone. Let's get ready." In a little while, all the toys were in the kitchen helping to prepare the picnic. Old Bear had made a pile of toast, and Rabbit was helping him make sandwiches. "If we make all the sandwiches with hot toast," explained Old Bear, "it will make us all feel warmer." They made lots of other warm food too. Little Bear was wrapping up baked potatoes in a tea cloth, taking care not to burn his paws. Bramwell Brown had made a tray of little apple pies, and now he was helping Duck pack hot buns in a box. Old Bear had even filled a flask with warm soup. He tightened the top very firmly so it wouldn't spill. At last, all the food was wrapped up and ready to go in the basket. Bramwell counted out 5 cups and 5 plates, and Old Bear found a little jar of honey for an extra special treat. "Come on, Duck," said Rabbit. "You can help me find some blankets and some warm clothes." Little Bear and Bramwell followed them down from the table and went to fetch the picnic basket, leaving Old Bear to pile the food at the edge of the table. With a bit of a struggle, they managed to drag the picnic basket out of the cupboard and across the room. Old Bear handed down a hot water bottle to Bramwell. "Put that in the bottom of the basket," he said. "It will keep all the food nice and hot." Then, very carefully, the food was passed down and neatly packed in the basket. Just as they'd finished, Rabbit and Duck returned, laden with blankets and jumpers and hats and scarves. "Here you are, something for everybody," said Rabbit in a rather muffled voice. "These should help keep out the cold." Soon they were all gathered in the doorway, wrapped up snugly and ready to go. "I feel a bit silly," said Bramwell Brown, "but it's rather fun to be having the first picnic of the year." "Come on, everyone," said Rabbit. "I'm feeling hungry already." They marched out of the house, dragging the picnic basket along on a little 4-wheeled cart. There was just a hint of frost on the path that led to the garden gate. "Where are we going to have the picnic?" asked Little Bear as they reached the gate. Old Bear looked around. Then he pointed to the top of the little hill. "We should get a nice view from up there," he said. "Won't it be a bit windy?" said Duck rather gloomily. "And we'll have to walk all the way back, don't forget." But nobody was really listening. Before long, they were pulling and puffing their way up the hill. I feel quite warm now," said Bramwell, "but I'm very hungry." "Keep going, everyone," said Old Bear encouragingly. "It isn't far now." At last they reached the top. "Ah, yes, this will do," said Old Bear. He took a blanket from the basket and spread it on the ground. The others left the basket on the little path and began to unpack the picnic. It wasn't long before everything was arranged neatly on the blanket, and everyone was sitting down enjoying the feast. The soup in the flask was lovely. They all wrapped their paws around the steaming cups to keep them warm. The honey had gone a bit runny, and the butter had melted out of the sandwiches, but it all tasted good. In fact, everything tasted especially good, and very soon it was all gone. But when they'd finished, the toys began to shiver again. "Come on," said Bramwell Brown. It's too cold to sit still. Let's play a game." "Oh, yes," cried Little Bear. Let's have a game of chase. We'll soon warm up if we run around." "I'm not really a running around sort of duck. You'll catch me straight away." "Well, I'll give you time to get away," said Old Bear. "Now, ready, steady, go!" All the toys ran off in different directions. Rabbit was very fast, but then he stopped suddenly to look down an interesting hole, and Old Bear caught him easily. It was Rabbit's turn next. He leapt after Little Bear and grabbed him by his trousers. But before Rabbit knew what had happened, Little Bear had wriggled out of them and escaped. At that moment, Bramwell Brown stumbled out from behind a tree and bumped straight into Rabbit. "Got you," said Rabbit. Now it was Bramwell's turn. He was looking around for someone to catch when he spotted something orange sticking out from a bush. He crept over and said, "Boo!" Out jumped Duck and a trouserless Little Bear. "It's about time you found me," grumbled Duck, shivering. "It's pretty chilly just standing around in a bush. Especially if you haven't got any trousers," added Little Bear. Now they were all beginning to feel the cold. "The hot water bottle is still warm in the picnic basket," said Bramwell Brown. "Why don't we all get in with it for a little while, just for a warm-up?" Oh, lovely," said Little Bear, as his paws touched the warm hot water bottle. "I'm as warm as summertime now." They all snuggled down. "It's lovely in here, isn't it?" said Rabbit. "I won't want to get out to go home." None of them wanted to get out, but as it turned out, they didn't actually have to. Suddenly, a big gust of wind caught the open lid and began to blow the basket down the hill. "Oh, no!" cried Old Bear. "Help!" But, of course, there wasn't anybody to help. "It's when things like this happen," said Bramwell Brown shakily, "that you wish you were having a picnic on a normal sort of day, when there are lots of people around to rescue you." The basket bumped its way on down the little hill. It jumped a very small stream, and gathering speed, headed towards a large branch that lay across the path. "Oh, no!" shouted Rabbit. "Duck!" And they all ducked, except Duck, who was wondering why Rabbit was shouting at him. If anyone had seen the picnic basket now, they would have thought it was just a picnic basket on wheels rolling down the hill. They would never have guessed that there were 5 brave picnickers inside. "Oh, when is it going to stop?" asked Little Bear. "When it gets to the bottom, I should think," muttered Duck. And he was more or less right. The little cart shot through the gate and came to an abrupt halt. The basket fell off the cart, and the 5 friends fell out of the basket. When they realized that they weren't moving anymore and dared to look, they found that they were right outside their own front door. "Well, isn't that wonderful?" said Rabbit. "A picnic on top of a hill, and we didn't even have to walk back." "I think perhaps I would rather have walked back," said Old Bear, standing up rather shakily. "But for the first picnic of the year, that's going to be hard to beat." "Yes," said Bramwell Brown. "Travelling home from the picnic isn't usually the most exciting bit, is it?" And dusting themselves down, they pushed open the door and trooped inside for tea.
Please read story old bear, we'll all gather round. Dear old bear, sit in your favorite chair. We'll sit all around dear old bear.
Old Bear sat propped up on a pile of cushions. He was reading a book and munching his way through a bag of apples. Well, it wasn't actually a bag of apples now. It was a bag of apple. There was only one left. "I do wish I had an apple tree," said Old Bear. "Then I would never run out of apples." "How do you get an apple tree?" asked Little Bear, wishing there were 2 apples left in the bag so he could have one. "You plant a pip," said Old Bear, examining his apple core. "See, there are lots in here, all the little brown seeds." "What do you have to do to a pip to make it grow?" "Oh, just water it," said Old Bear sleepily, as he settled back to have a rest. It was some time later that Duck found Little Bear. He was standing on a chair in the conservatory and seemed to be watering the floor with a watering can. "I'm growing an apple tree for Old Bear," he explained proudly. "It's going to be a surprise." "Oh, well, where is it then?" asked Duck. "Oh, it isn't a tree yet," said Little Bear. "It's just a pip." Duck bent down to examine the pip. Must need more water," he said. Little Bear poured even more water from his watering can all over Duck's head. "Not that much," grumbled Duck. The floor was getting wetter and wetter. Duck went off to fetch his umbrella. When he came back, Little Bear was looking down anxiously. The apple pip had gone. "I think it must have floated away," said Duck, and he climbed into his umbrella to keep his feet dry. Just then, Rabbit arrived, towing Sailor along in his boat. "What are you doing with all this water?" asked Rabbit. "Little Bear is growing a tree from a pip," said Duck. "But it's floated away." Suddenly, Sailor jumped up in his boat. "Pip ahoy!" he shouted, pointing into the water. "It's just about to float under the chair. I'll catch it in my net." "You really need to put it in a flower pot," said Rabbit helpfully. "I'll help you find one." Rabbit gave Little Bear a piggyback across the wet floor to where the flower pots were kept. "I'll find one the right size," he said. Rabbit hopped in and out of the flower pots until at last he found the one he wanted. "This one will do," he said, and he carried it carefully to Little Bear. Little Bear dropped the pip into the pot. "Oops," he said, as it disappeared again. "It's got straight through the hole in the bottom." "You need to put some soil in the pot," said Dog, who was busy in the corner burying his bones. Dog helped Little Bear to fill the flower pot with soil. When it was nearly full, Rabbit made a little hole and Little Bear dropped in the pip. "There," said Dog. "It should grow now." "What are you doing?" asked a voice from above them. It was Jolly Tall. "We are growing an apple tree," said Little Bear. "It's for Old Bear, but it hasn't started yet." "I think you have to keep it warm," said Jolly. "Things grow best when they're warm." "I think Jolly's right," said Rabbit. "You stay here with the pip, Little Bear, and we'll go and find things to wrap it in." Back in the playroom, Rabbit found a woolly bobble hat in the chest of drawers. Sailor and Duck came across some little knitted blankets in one of the carriages of the train. Dog remembered about the hot water bottle in his basket. And Jolly Tall brought his extra long scarf. Soon they were all back in the conservatory, helping Little Bear wrap the flower pot. And finally, the hot water bottle was propped up against it for extra warmth. "It looks very cosy," said Little Bear, I'd grow very quickly if I were that Pip. And he settled down to watch for signs of the tree popping through. The others all watched too, but nothing exciting seemed to be happening. Jolly Tall lifted up the hat once so that Rabbit could peer very hard at the soil in the pot. But no, there wasn't even the tiniest hint of a tree. Sometime later, Bramwell Brown walked into the room to find Little Bear leaning against the hot water bottle, fast asleep. "We're not supposed to wake him until his apple tree has grown," explained Jolly Tall. "What apple tree?" asked Bramwell Brown, looking all around. "Shh! The one that's just a Pip at the moment," said Jolly Tall. "It's under the hat." Bramwell lifted the hat and stared at the soil in the flower pot. "Well, Little Bear will have to have a very long sleep," he said. "It takes years and years to grow a tree." "Are you sure?" asked Jolly. "Even with my scarf round it?" "Well, I'm afraid so," said Bramwell. "Oh, what a shame," said Jolly, "because it was going to be a surprise for Old Bear." "Well, I've just thought of something we can do to surprise Old Bear and Little Bear," said Bramwell. Leaving Little Bear asleep by his flower pot, the toys all gathered round Bramwell and listened quietly while he told them of his plan. "Now, Rabbit," he said, "your job is to find another flower pot. Duck, could you find some fallen branches? Not too big, though." "I know where there's a ball of string," said Sailor. "I'll get it for you." "I'll go and fill a bag with soil," said Dog. "Well, isn't there a job for me?" asked Zebra. "Of course there is," said Bramwell kindly. "The most important job." And in case Little Bear should hear, he whispered it in her ear. "What I want you to do, you got to... Okay. "Shall I take the little red cart?" asked Zebra. "What a good idea," said Bramwell. "You'll fit lots in there." Sometime later, when Little Bear woke up from his sleep, he couldn't believe his eyes. "I've grown a tree!" he shouted, jumping up and down with excitement. "And it's got apples on it!" Bramwell smiled. "I'm afraid it's not your Pip that has grown. It takes years and years to grow big apple trees that have real fruit, so we made you one." "Well, this is just as good," he said. "Can we take it to Old Bear now?" Little Bear ran on ahead to wake Old Bear, while the others very carefully lifted the apple tree into Zebra's little red cart. In the playroom, Little Bear was hopping up and down with excitement. "Now, close your eyes, Old Bear," he squeaked. "But you've just made me open them," said Old Bear. I was fast asleep." "I know, but you must close your eyes or it won't be a surprise." Old Bear hid his eyes, and Little Bear waved to the others. In trotted Zebra, pulling her little red cart, and there in the cart was the apple tree. "You can look now," said Little Bear. Old Bear opened his eyes and stared in amazement. "Where did that come from?" he gasped. "It grew!" laughed Little Bear. And then, seeing Old Bear's astonished face, he quickly said, "But not exactly all in the same place. The branches and the apples grew, but on different trees. We just put them together." And then he explained all about the Pip, the water, the flower pot, and the hot water bottle, and the homemade apple tree. Old Bear smiled and hugged Little Bear. "Well, I shall enjoy seeing your tree when it does grow," he said. "But in the meantime, I'll have great fun picking my own apples. And then I think I'll make you all a nice, real apple pie."